Hello team and welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MSPiz. This is a Ukraine War breaking news live stream, rather similar to the other day with the attacks on the airfields. The Ukrainians have been busying themselves with what is almost certainly another long in the preparation attacks on Russia and Russian infrastructure. We have another attack on the Kerch bridge. It's a long time since the last one took place, where they, in an incredible operation, drove what we think they drove a lorry with a whole bunch of explosives wrapped in these reels or inside these reels of cellophane. And then that exploded, and a train that was passing by with fuel cars also exploded, and it led to a massive success, PR success as much as logistical success for the Ukrainians. And people have been waiting for something else to happen on the Kerch Bridge, but once bitten, twice shy. So like with the airport attack yesterday or 2 days ago, it's unlikely that Ukraine is going to be able to do the same thing again, right? So they're not going to be able to do attack the Kerch Bridge in the same way. But we've been wondering whether it be a missile attack, but now we see that there has been another very different style of attack, and one that has been predicted, because we know that the Russians, being cautious about the Kerch Bridge, decided to put booms and sink ferries and all sorts to stop naval maritime attacks from taking place. So just to remind you, Black Sea, Crimea, I'm sure we all know this, the Kerch Bridge, which was the bridge that the Russians built with much fanfare, Putin driving across it, connecting mainland Russia to the Crimean Peninsula. And here we have certain areas that are more able to be destroyed than others. There are going to be certain pillars and supports structures that are going to be vulnerable. Now, the Russians have been sinking ships, ferries and whatnot, and scuttling them on purpose to protect against underwater attacks, either submarine or submarine style drones or even surface drones. We know that the Ukrainians have been hot on developing their USV technology, their unmanned surface vehicles. So what do we see? Well, this is the footage that's coming out. So Christopher Miller here from the Financial Times says, Ukraine's SBU security service behind the audacious drone attack deep inside Russia now says it has attacked the Kerch Bridge in occupied Crimea in a months-long operation. It says SBU agents mined the supports of the bridge with 1,100 kilograms of TNT under the waterline, and it was detonated this morning. So here it is. This is what we know has happened at the very least. So a big old explosion taking place under the water there. Now the question is, okay, so what happens now? What is the actual damage to the bridge? Is it going to cause a collapse? There doesn't seem to be anything other than that video that we can really derive as to what has happened structurally to the bridge. H.I. Sutton says Ukraine's SBU attack on the Kerch Bridge today, this time targeting one of the support columns. Initial information suggests an underwater approach to be confirmed. It appears that the bridge was damaged but not destroyed. There are various sorts of infographics and whatnot just coming out at the moment. This is what the Crimean Bridge looks like in section, and actually, well, supposedly blown up the supports with 1,100 kilograms of explosives. Well, actually, we don't know whether the support's been blown up. All we know is that a big plume of water has erupted from around the supports. But you would imagine that the Russians are going to be very wary about using the bridge in its current state, with that explosion having taken place. There are claims that it's in an emergency situation. So I presume they're going to be closing the bridge. But yeah, certainly not destroyed. The operation lasted several months, as is reported there. Just seeing there's Anything else? Special Kherson Cat usually does good threads, so we'll check their thread from start to finish. So I might repeat myself a little bit here. So Ukrainian security service hits Crimean bridge in an underwater sabotage operation. The security service of Ukraine, the SBU, has carried out a new special operation targeting the Crimean bridge. Its third successful strike on the structure, this time using underwater explosives. The operation, which had been in planning for several months, involved placing explosives on the underwater supports of the bridge. At 4:44 a.m., the first device was detonated. The blast caused significant structural damage to the base of the bridge, using the equivalent of 1,100 kilograms of TNT. Here's an image. So actually, it looks like there is some structural damage to the bridge above, if that is connected to the same event. The bridge is now in a critical condition, according to preliminary assessments. SBU Chief Lieutenant General Vasil Malyuk personally oversaw. He's going to get himself a medal, isn't he? And coordinated the operation. He stated that the bridge remains a legitimate military target due to its use by Russian forces for logistical support. And the location where the SBU planted the underwater explosive device is on one of the pillars of the bridge, as you can see there. And there are those kind of circular. I'm not sure what they are, but you saw them in the video. And in fact, you see those structures coming out the side there. Are they what we see here? So let's go back to this image, so coming over the side, locking over the side of the pillars there, and then, you know, tying it down in some kind of, I don't know, extra suspension or extra, obviously, structural support there. Anyway, let's just have a look at a few more of these images. So taking place there, it's been geolocated. So further over to this side, somewhere over, yeah, so it's going to be on this map at one of these points here. It looks like it's at that point. Sorry, we're going to come to those videos and claims in a second. So there you can see the explosion as it happened. I wonder if there are any more. I doubt it. They haven't already gone off, but obviously the Russians are going to be pretty much flailing at the moment, I would have thought, and it's going to be a case of, right, you've got to go and check the other supports, get your diving kit on. It's like, no, really? Is that not your job? No, you're going to do it. No, but how about you do it? You know, because I'd be afraid of more explosions taking place. Well, we've got Max25 here saying Russians right that the Crimean bridge was attacked by underwater drones. I remember showing you this video. I can't remember how long ago it was, well over a year ago, talking about the importance of torpedo-style drones. I've long said that they should, and I'm not saying that's what was used. It appears that they were explosives attached to. That's the implication I get to the pillar. But I think torpedo drones, underwater submarine type drones, are going to be should in theory be incredibly useful if you can, you know, pilot these somehow to the edge of Novorossiysk, where the Black Sea Fleet is presently situated, and just hide them outside the booms that protect the area of water closer to the ports. Then you can lie and wait for a ship to come out and then hit it afterwards. And yeah, so I'm not saying that this has been used. There are lots of options. You got infographics of the sorts of weaponry that could be used, but I don't know that this is the case. I mean, the question is, if it is explosives attached to the structure of the bridge, and you know, who has been able to do that? That is some serious long distance sabotage work. So it could be that there were underwater drones that could pilot themselves, or could be piloted up to the structure and then release their explosives onto the structure. I don't know. Who knows how it happened? I'm sure it will all come out as I was going to say, as the dust settles, but maybe it's as the seaweed settles. And the Russians are predictably reacting already. Russian media are reporting a renewed attack on the Crimean bridge, says War Translated. Crimean bridge attacked again. We are clarifying the consequences. The entire coast of Crimea danger, according to BEC. So BEC is their acronym for USV, unmanned sea vehicles, as far as sometimes BEK, BEC. The entire Crimean coast is at risk from surface and underwater targets. So lots of like, what's going on? But anyway, I think that's evidently, very good news, isn't it? Because well, obviously, it's going to affect the usage of the bridge. That will affect the supply to Crimea, the support for the Crimean forces, and it will also have a massive PR effect. Hot on the hot really on the tail of the previous attack, as we know from a couple of days ago. So this is a purple patch for the Ukrainians, and you're wondering. And again, this will be a psychological ramification for the Russians that we discussed yesterday. In one of the analyses I did was, the Russians are going to be thinking, well, when's the next one going to happen? They're going to be on tenterhooks. They're going to be paranoid. They're going to be checking vehicles, checking ships. That's going to be an extra cost, not just psychological cost, but an actual logistical and economic cost. And all of this is to the benefit of Ukraine, of course. So there you go. This is another good day for the Ukrainians, even if the bridge, hasn't collapsed. It will have an effect on the Russian usage of the bridge, certainly in the short term. And I would assume you're not going to want to be using that bridge for heavy traffic without doing some structural refitting and jiggery pokery. So yeah, incredible stuff. Is it confirmed already, says Duncan McDane. Hey, people just hearing this, is it confirmed already? I mean, you can see the footage. The footage is not AI footage. That's happened, and it seems like the SBU were already ready for this because they have confirmed it. Like, this information is coming from the SBU as much as it is from Russian sources. So yeah, as Anton Gerashenko says, well, what code name do we call it? So this is something that has happened. The question is, what is the damage there in that explosion? And how long would it take the bridge out for? Will there be any other explosions? How did they do it? But it's really impressive. And this is at a time when I think PR is important for Ukraine. I was just about to record a video. The frustration is I'm like, I've got so much to talk about. I've got all these other videos to do. I'm going to do a video next about the MAGA reaction to the attack on the air bases, because it's really interesting seeing how these activities are being politically met, essentially, as we find out about them. So there are certain people in the US, whether it be Alex Jones and you kind of Tucker Carlson a lot, Mike Flynn has got involved. Steve Bannon saying that an investigation should be opened. We should be sanctioning Ukraine for not asking the US permission to do this. You're like, really? They're at war, defending themselves from Russia. They don't have to ask the US permission to do any of this. Like, they have every right to do this. And by golly, it's good to see. We should be learning from this. The US, and in fact, there are some analysts who are on the other side of the political spectrum looking at this saying, what a shame that the US isn't involved in this, because we're not learning from the Ukraine are teaching us lessons. And it's just fascinating to see that these very impressive missions are being met with such a varied reception, whereas the US should be supporting Ukraine to the hilt, and everyone should be in awe of what Ukraine is doing and supportive of what they're doing, not trying to punish them for doing that. So anyway, I'm going to show you some stuff from like Mike Flynn, who was a former national security advisor before he was sacked, of course, for talking to the Russians and lying about it. Trump didn't want to sack him, but he ended up having to sack him because he lied to the FBI and lied to Mike Pence. So Mike Flynn and people like that coming out in criticism of Ukraine for doing these amazing things. It's really deeply frustrating. Thanks, Kevin Force. Really appreciate that, matey. Thank you for your consistent support. You're an absolute legend. 5 ATP Geopolitics memberships. Goose Springsteen, bridges are very difficult to meaningfully destroy and can almost always be repaired. Yes, but look how much damage they did the last time round and how long it took them to repair it. And that caused a tremendous problem logistically, because then they were having to use ferries, and then the Ukrainians hit those ferries as well, if you remember. So it became a really significant challenge for the Russians to keep militarily supplying Crimea. This is great for Ukraine in a PR sense, but Russia also has alternate rail routes that reduce its military value. And I'd imagine those rail routes, so the new one coming out from Mariupol along the coast to Berdyansk, just to let you guys know what we're talking about there. If I get back to the map, there is a new railway that has been built, and I presume they're extending it, that is going along the Sea of Azov coast, sort of this way, because the previous railroads are very close. Volnovakha up near Vuhledar, very easy to hit. So the railway coming from Rostov-on-Don all the way down here, and that helps to, I presume through Jankoy, helps to supply Kerch. So we have seen the railways get hit recently. We've seen a couple in Bryansk and Kursk, and even down near Melitopol. I would imagine this new railway is going to be one of Ukraine's targets as well. And so, yeah, I don't think we should be downplaying this. Yeah, you can say that the Kerch Bridge might not be the single most important thing to strike, but it's going to be logistically, I think, beneficial for the Ukrainians to do so. Joe Hales, thank you so much, mate. And by the way, thanks, Goose. Yes. So Joe Hales, I'd love to see this level of evolution to continue. Absolutely. Yeah. And I guess, like I was saying, what other things do the Ukrainians have up their sleeves? I mean, I was hoping that they might do something else relatively soon, because it's just, it makes me feel good for Ukraine and how that they still have some of these cards. The idea that he has no cards, Zelensky has no cards. We're now seeing so many memes of Zelensky with these cards in his hands. He clearly does have cards. The Ukrainians do have cards, and they are innovating, and they are doing some pretty impressive things. So, who knows indeed what else we are going to see in the coming days and weeks. Maybe nothing, maybe nothing at all, but maybe some other acts of sabotage. And this is in concert with Medvedev and others on the Russian side, indicating that peace negotiations are pointless. We are, what was it Medvedev said this morning that I reported in my last video, just absolutely laying on the table exactly how they feel about peace negotiations, and how they are just a way for them to get what they want, and they are going to seek absolute retribution for the air bases. So they're not interested in peace at all. And the Ukrainians need to just be showing to the rest of the world, but really an audience of one, of Trump, exactly what they can do and how they do have cards. And things are, they are capable of doing more than the Americans might think they are able to. And when I say the Americans, I mean the Trump administration, of course. I know many of you feel very differently about that. Vadim Orlov, thank you so much for your support, mate. Really, really appreciate that. Thanks. Very kind indeed. And there are obviously already all the memes are coming out, right? As you can imagine, this is the kind of world that we live in. You have Malyuk overlooking the Kremlin now. And interestingly, so there was already a meme the other day that came out straight after the airbase thing. So, this is taken from him overlooking that green schematic of the air bases. And funnily enough, like this meme isn't from today. I'm going to show this to you. It was not from today. It was, you can see all of these. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant stuff. Just memes are great, aren't they? Fantastic. There was a meme of him looking again. There you go. The lorry by that. Yeah, this one. This one was not from today, right? And yet Malyuk did do this. This was like prescient. So this meme was generated as soon as they hit the airbases. Everyone's going, well, it's going to be the Kerch Bridge next. And it was the Kerch Bridge next. So I guess we'll have to just wait and see what the long-term damage to the bridge might be. Let's just go back to Anton Gershchenko just for the last bit before I leave you. Crimean Telegram channels report a new attack on the Kerch bridge. Apart from the very fact that the strike on the bridge support was missed, what also draws attention is the enemy's free access to the webcams installed there. That's something they've obviously hacked into the webcams to be able to show this footage already. That's a good point. It's likely that the entire video surveillance system of the strategic facility was compromised, and it's unknown how long this has been going on, writes military informant. Explosions in the protected area F them across the entire estuary, not just the bridge, writes 13 Tactical. The attack on the Crimean bridge continues. They're trying to break through in clusters, report military monitoring channels. So there's lots of panic. Could be other things going on, but I doubt it. But you never know. There was a lot of USV activity reported a couple of nights ago, but nothing seemed to come of it. But the idea of being able to hack into the video surveillance is interesting because, you know, if you watch any kind of spy film or action film, you often get this idea that you hack in and then loop footage that is just of nothing, right? So footage of just the water lapping against the support. So you loop that footage and then you can go and do something and no one can see you do it because you've hacked into the surveillance. So who knows, something like that might well have happened. Just pretty incredible. And Goose Springsteen again, regarding peace negotiations, the Russian calculation to minimally engage is entirely cynical to placate Trump, and also informed by their belief that Russia will be in a stronger position in a year's time. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the US now reacts with regard to Ukraine with the peace negotiations, because even Mike Johnson has come out and said he's in favor of the Lindsey Graham bill. So that's from the speaker, majority speaker of the lower house, the House of Representatives. So it looks like there's actually bipartisan support from Congress for the US to be a lot harder on Russia, and it's going to be left for Trump to either kind of get angry about all these incidents with Ukraine for some reason, or to kind of ride on the wave and then say, look, Russia isn't trying to do peace, so we are going to hit them with greater and greater pressure and sanctions. But yeah, I guess we're going to have to wait and see. Right, that's enough from me. This is just a short live. Thank you very, very much for your support. Please check out the videos I've done today. I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of other videos talking about all the various things, not least the reaction, as I mentioned, to the airbase attacks. But news will no doubt emerge throughout the day, and I'll try and keep you posted as much as possible. Thank you very, very much to the people who supported today: Goose Springsteen and Kevin Forst, Joe Hales, Vadim Orlov, and indeed all of you guys who are members and supporters of the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Take care. It's been a pretty good week for Ukraine. Long may it continue. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.